The chop saw plays an important role in the milling of wood. It can be used to rough cut long planks into shorter planks. It can be used to square up ends, and it can also be used to cut wood to the final length that you need from your cut list. Before using the chop saw, let's understand the pieces and parts of it. Obviously, one of the big things about the chop saw is its blade. And the bigger the blade, the bigger the cut or the wider the cut that it can make. Now, humans decided that they needed to be able to make wider cuts than just the blade width would allow them. So one of the things that has been added to a chop saw is a piston. And the piston lets you slide the blade backwards and forwards across the cut and make a much wider cut depending on the length of the piston. The other part of all of that is the motor. You have to have a motor to drive the blade. So the bigger the motor, the more torque that the blade has. And the more torque it has, the tougher woods it can cut. The wood is placed on the bed of the chop saw, and the wider the bed, the more stability that it has. The wood's also supported by the fence, and the fence is there so that you can push that jointed edge back up against it. The last thing of note on chop saws is that they make a hellacious mess. So you'll often find a dust chute that will suck that sawdust out. Sometimes they'll have a bag structure on the end of it. I've never found those to be particularly helpful. And what you'll see here at the school is that we've created a box-like structure around the entire back of the chop saw. And we use a dust port at the bottom of that box to pull all the dust out. If you're using one of these in your own shop, you're going to want to make sure that you've solved this problem, or at least tackled this problem, either by taking it out into the driveway on a mobile base or by providing some sort of capture mechanism here. Now, you've probably heard of the chop saw referred to by multiple different names, and all those different names just refers to a feature that your chop saw may or may not have. So some chop saws may not have a piston. So if it doesn't have a piston, it's just going to be able to go up and down in its cut motion. But if it does have a piston, it allows the blade to slide forwards and backwards. So when you hear the term sliding chop saw, it's simply referring to the fact that it has a piston mechanism allowing you to do that. The next thing that you'll hear is miter saw. And a miter saw refers to the ability to change the angle of the blade relative to the placement of the wood. So this means that it'll usually have a handle at the front here with a release mechanism, and you can swing that handle from left to right and change the degree of the angle. Now, the last feature, not all chop saws have this, is the ability to tilt the whole housing of the blade over to the left or over to the right. When you do that, you can use it in combination with the miter feature and have something called a compound cut, where not only is the blade cutting the wood at an angle, but the blade itself has also been tilted, so you get the two angles being cut at the same time. So when you hear the terms sliding compound miter saw, it's simply talking about all of the features that the chop saw has. And of course, that's kind of a mouthful, so often people will just refer to it as a chop saw. So now that you know about the parts of the chop saw, let's go on and take a look at how to use it in the next section. Go ahead and click subscribe, or better yet, sign up for one of our woodworking classes here at the Florida School of Woodwork.